What is up, my friends? Today we're going to break down one of my favorite songs that we're working on. We're going to talk about indie, alternative, pop music. We're going to talk about one of my good friends, Sebastian. We're sitting at 43,000 monthly listeners right now. It's a beautiful life to live. Before anything else, though, let me play you a snippet of this song so you can hopefully be intrigued.
Waste my time with you. See what we can do. What do we got to lose? If it's you and me, yeah. Your lips in the back of my mind. Your body passenger side. Road trips to the edge of the sky. I'm falling now.
Okay, that's all you get for right now. We're going to travel back in time to a quick little montage of me and Sebastian coming up with this idea from scratch, and then we're going to break down what I've done since that day. That's crazy. Do that. That's a cool vocal melody for sure.
I want to say back in my ride, but like,
Your body was my side. Your face in the back of my ride.
I think I got it.
I need you till till sunrise. Usually I know that you're upset, but when I'm with you, you don't gotta think twice. We go out and live in the moonlight. I don't wanna waste my time with you. See what we can do. What do we got to lose? If it's you and me, yeah. Your lips in the back of my mind.
Yeah, that one's it.
Wild, bro. Wild. Yeah, sometimes you take some Mo's trips. Sometimes you get distracted watching UFC fights. But then sometimes you finally pull up Ableton and you make a hit.
And you finally make a
You
song.
finally make a song.
Yeah, that's fire. Boy, what do you do?
I work. I make some beats. I do some stuff.
Lips in the back of my mind. Your body passenger side. Road trips to the edge of the sky. I'm falling now. Your friends in the back of my ride. Don't know what will end up tonight. For now, baby, just sit tight. I'm falling now.
It's one of those things where I give Sebastian a chord to throw into electric guitar. Before I can even turn anything on, he already has a whole idea, and I have to kind of just play catch up. But that's the whole idea, right? Me as a producer, I might not play everything that he can on the guitar. I might not have those different kind of ideas in that, but what I'm here for is to support his creation coming to life. And sometimes that could be helping in vocal direction, that could be hearing certain melodies that sound good, and then that could be supportive elements that I'm adding. In this track, I've worked on this 3 separate times since we first had that day together. It's really about the arrangement of the little bits and pieces that we have. And figuring out how we can bring it all together. A lot of the songs that me and Sebastian make, if we go and we look, 4 minutes is the longest song, 2.5, 2. I do like longer songs, but these catchy, quick indie alternative pop songs, it really does it for me, and I'm thankful to be a part of this. Let's break down what we have so far in this track. We have a couple of different things. When we first left that day with Sebastian, we had his main electric guitar. We had an acoustic guitar piece that he put down on top of that. I was just asking for the same chords strummed out so we could have a different texture. We had an electric lead guitar that he played, and everything started with a drum loop that I had gotten from a free sample pack from The Count. Now, let's listen to that sample by itself. It is the Springfield Break. So it's a rhythm that we're not usually using. We've been doing a lot of 4-on-the-floor stuff as well. This was fun to start with this and to drag that into Ableton. I did have to chop it up a couple of different ways because it didn't really sit with the way that I was hearing it. And it also came through muffled. So whether that was the recording itself or there was some sort of filter on it, it wasn't really cutting through the mix like I wanted it to. And that was a big problem for a couple of those days. It felt right. I liked the groove, but I didn't really know if it was going to be the final drums that stayed there. That day I also put a Juno synth in. I copied the chords. I matched the chords in the background to have that mid-range kind of bolstered up a little bit. And that was it. And so I had to figure out how to take it from idea to finish. I had to start slowly arranging things. Starting with the intro. Pretty simple. This was just a fun technique I was already doing that day. I took the main lead over and I transposed it up 12. I changed the formants. What I usually notice is when I'm transposing up, Complex Pro seems to be the way, complex going down. When we do this though, however, the record sounds a little, instead of this just going up 12 and sounding exactly like that, it sounds a little muffled. So we start moving around the formants until we hear that sound cut through a little bit more. We have that for 4 bars, and then we have some hi-hats coming in. Now, this is just an acoustic hi-hat loop. They're 2-bar loops, and then I have one on the 4th turnaround that is a little bit different. Has that opening of the hat. Now, arrangement. Again, this is, I like to think of it as puzzles. We had, again, 4 main puzzle pieces: acoustic guitar, electric, lead electric, and a drum loop. We had a little bit of a Juno on the hook. So we had 5 pieces. I don't know why I counted 5 like that. We had 5 pieces to then move around and then work with to make a 2-minute song. So what are we going to do first? We need to do different things that attract the ear and that attract the momentum of the song. This is just stuff I've learned from like psychology and myself listening to music. But I want it to be every 4 bars we're hearing something different. Vocal melodies can be enough, but when I started making music, all I would do is just have one section that would be a verse, a pre, a hook, and then I would copy and paste that over again. And one of my best friends, Cappy, he's a legend. He's done so many beautiful records. Would come over and he would teach me. He would take the same thing that I had and just move things around and cut something here and do a transition there. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's what we got to do. We got to put a little bit more thought into the puzzle pieces. So the first arrangement switch up that we do is letting the hook come in bare. We have Sebastian's vocals recorded straight into here. I'm using Kenny Beats vocal template, just the stock template for recording the vocals. We can see all of that here. I did throw auto-tune on there, just a slight tad of auto-tune on top of it. But this is what we have for that first hook. This is a hook that is sang differently than the other ones. This isn't a copy and paste hook all the way through. This one I knew was going to be dry, more dry than the others. So we have just a lead, just a vocal down at the bottom, and we have just the hi-hats for the first 4 bars.
Your lips in the back of my mind, your sky. I'm falling now. Your friends in the back of my ride. Don't know what we'll end up tonight. For now, baby, just sit tight. I'm falling, baby,
Now, if you noticed, I pulled up a little mini Moog for a second, and I'm using the club sub preset on this. Now, what I originally had, I said 5 ideas. I had a 6th puzzle piece in there, was Sebastian's bass. Now, we were both struggling on the bass for a minute. He played it, I played it. I think I was the one that ended up recording his idea, but it just didn't feel right, and it wasn't the momentum shifting idea that I needed. What I ended up doing was just drawing out the notes that followed the chords in a sub bass. Now, again, on that sub bass, there was a little processing done to it. I added Decapitator on there, just a default. This is a plugin by Soundtoys, amazing plugin to add distortion. Just a slight little bit of drive that we're doing. I believe I didn't touch anything else, just a little bit of the distortion, and added that in with the EQ. Yeah, I did do a slight tuck on the EQ around 200 just because it was growling. And we wanted to tuck that in there. Sometimes with Arturia plugins, they're amazing. I love them so much. Sometimes they get a little wonky if you don't freeze and flatten them. That mini Moog sometimes detunes itself. So I freeze and flatten that. And that is the first time that we have the synth bass come in. So synth bass down here in the mint green. And we're also hearing the acoustic guitar for the first time.
Your friends in the back of my ride. Don't know.
It's sitting in that mid range. If we want to pull up the spectrum so we can kind of see where that's at, would be a good time to show off the spectrum analyzer. Okay, so just a stock plugin from Ableton. Beautiful. So it's sitting in that 500 to 1,000 range. Complements it real well, but you could almost, you feel it more than you hear it in this section. But this is where we start doing some arrangement. Now, again, the first time that we hear the acoustic, it's stuck in the middle of a synth bass and an electric guitar. But we're going to mute the hi-hats. We're going to mute the electric guitar, and we're just going to let that acoustic go for the first time, just with the vocals of this first verse. We're not going to let it go for too long, though. We're going to bring back in those hi-hats. But what we're going to do to switch up the energy here is we're going to automate this. But we also have an automation going on with 2 different EQs. When we are in the acoustic section of, or when we're in the hook section with the acoustic, I have a Pro Q3 that is cutting off the lows and cutting off some of those highs. I didn't want it to clash too much with the electric guitar. We also have the lead electric guitar that's coming in later. I wanted more so just the feeling of the body and the low to mid range of that acoustic guitar. And then when we are getting into the verse, we let it open back up. It opens back up. We take that EQ off. And for a moment, we just have an auto filter that comes in that cuts off around 30 to, well, it's like 50 hertz. So it's just cutting out the low end, and that's it. But it opens back up so we hear the full body of that acoustic guitar in this section just with the vocals. Let's listen to that. See how it just opens up just with the switch of the EQ? It's good because it goes from, again, just feeling that subtly and then opening up. Let's listen to what the record sounds like going into the pre, and then we'll break down what's going on.
I'm falling, baby, I need you still till the sunrise. Usually I know you're pretty uptight, but when I'm with you, you don't gotta think twice. We could run around in the moonlight. I kinda wanna waste my time with you. See what we can do. What do we got to lose? If it's you and me, yeah.
Cool. Took that little hook away from you. So what are we introducing? So we're going from the pre-hook to the hook for the first time. We're hearing that pre-hook, which I love so much. Sebastian did an amazing job killing the pre-hook and the hook on this. What are we talking about? I want to waste my time with you. Can do. What do we got to lose? And that just sounds, he said, what do we got to lose if it's you and me, yeah? And yeah, whatever he says right there. It's so sick. And I wanted to open that up a little bit. So I took away the hi-hats from distracting it. And I also cut out the bass for this last bar so it rings out. We also have a little sweep that comes in as a transition into the hook. Now, when we're in this hook, we see a couple of different things coming in for the first time. So this was that original bass that I had played out. Since adding that synth bass, I took a lot off though. I did EQ out some of the low end, and I still let it sit in there, but the bass is pretty thin. So again, it's not really it's not hitting you in the chest. It's more so carrying the chord progressions and moving it forward. But I wanted that synth bass to fit in right below that. So if we hear both of those together. Now, I also do hear some artifacts of the bass playing. The bass playing wasn't perfect because it was done by me. None of this stuff is perfect. We had to quantize. We had to do some things to make it sound a little cuter. And maybe that's something we cut one day. Or maybe it's something we leave in there because it's authentic and it works together. The other thing that we have for the first time that we're hearing, we're introducing the lead guitar that Sebastian laid down. Nothing too crazy. We have guitar rig on there. We have a little vintage verb on there. Just barely adding a little reverb to that. And yeah, and then we have everything in. We also have the Juno in for the first time. So that Juno is going to come in. Lows rolled off on the Juno as well. This is just a harpsichord. And again, I just wanted this to kind of be kind of like the glue to everything else, kind of to just bridge the gaps between the synth basses, the vocals, and the guitars. Kind of added a nice mid-range filler in with everything. So enough of me talking. Let's go from the pre. Let's listen to this transition. We have the drum loop that inspired the whole song coming in for the first time. And it's the first time that we're hearing a kick and a snare before this hook right now. We're a minute into the song, no kick snare. We just have some hi-hats and a synth bass. So let's take a listen to this pre. And which is crazy because it's like you think, oh, this is indie pop we're making. We're making a pop record. We're making this alternative bop, right? We should have a kick and a snare a little earlier. So we still have a lot of momentum with this pre-hook.
I kinda wanna waste my time with you. See what we can do. What do we got to lose? If it's you and me, yeah. Your lips in the back of my mind. Your body passenger side. Road trips to the edge of the sky. I'm falling now. Your friends in the back of my ride. Don't know what we're ending tonight. For now, baby, just sit tight. I'm falling. You gotta tease me. I know what you're thinking.
Okay, beautiful. So I love how everything fits together. But again, do you feel how that those drums aren't really giving you everything that you want right there? Now, that was the issue that I was fighting with literally till today. I did a little bit of work today that kind of brought it back all together. And we're about to go to that in the final hook here. But it's that original drum loop. Again, I had to cut this up to get it to work with the flow of the song that I wanted. At the end of the original drum loop, there's a crazy drum break that we hear at the end of the actual song. But again, it was muffled. See how it just feels like there's a blanket over the mic or something? I like it though. It's still great. It's still the core of the song. But for my brain, for thinking about this, again, we're teasing the audience. We're giving them a little bit of something. This is the first time that they're hearing the hook built up again. And they already had that hook 30 seconds ago, 40 seconds ago. So hopefully they know a little bit about it. Oh, and they get to hear it in a part that's a little bit more built up. Well, awesome. So they get that, and then we take it away really quickly and we go back to that second verse. Now, we're taking away the Juno here. We're taking away the synth bass, and we're also taking away that drum loop for the last bar. We're highlighting the guitars here. We're highlighting the turnaround in the guitar melody. I really love what Sebastian does on the guitar here. It's that lead electric that we hear. That the little melody that he plays there works so well with turning that end around. And we drop back into the verse, which is just the main electric and just a vocal. And again, with working with those 5 or 6 parts that we're working, this is still the first time that you've ever heard just a vocal and just that electric guitar part. You might be like, oh, Josiah, what about in the beginning? No, we heard it with other stuff. And then we heard it with the acoustic and a vocal. So this is the second lightest stacked portion of this record. And it sounds amazing in my opinion. It's the electric guitar and the vocals coming from the hook. Let's listen to it through the pre, because you know what the pre sounds like. I added a little drum fill in to help build to that last hook, but let's take a listen from the hook to the next hook.
Tease me, I know what you're thinking. It's days like these that we've been missing. I don't wanna miss it, I don't want the ship to sink. It's you and me, but we want the same thing. I kinda wanna waste my time with you. See what we can do. What do we got to lose? If it's you and me, yeah. Your lips in the back of my mind. Your body passenger side. Road trips to the edge of the sky.
Awesome. So sounding so great. I love it so much. We wrapped the song at 157. But let's take a look into what we've done there. Because again, we're still working with all of the same elements. We're introducing one more thing in at the end, which is the shaker loop. I wanted a slight shaker loop just to bring in a little bit more momentum. This is sticking in at negative 24 dB. It's more of a feel thing. It added that extra shake, and when anything else is open in that main drum loop, we still hear that movement that is in there. We added in a drum loop, nothing too crazy that needed to be done here. I just searched through all my loops until I found one that fit the same acoustic timbre of the main drum loop that I was working with. And now this was my issue, because again, I needed to figure out how I could keep the integrity of that main drum loop. I still wanted to use it in the song, especially since that was what inspired the whole thing. But I had to put my little twist onto it. So again, if we take a look at this original drum loop, let me just bring it out so we can see what exactly I did. We have this, right? Which is almost like that, but what I had to do to rework this, there is, let's see, let's listen to it. Okay, so yeah, first of all, it starts with that crash or that ride right at the beginning. I can't start off a record with that. So I actually put that halfway through the track. Right? So that comes in halfway. And I did a couple of other chopping. I think I chopped like a bar at a time and I had to move it around. I had to move several sections around. But what I wanted was this big roll at the end to close out the song. But there was a couple of different things that we had to do. Remember, it was a little muffled and it wasn't giving that impact that I needed it to have, but I still wanted that live sound of those drums in there. So what we did, pretty simple. I stacked it up with another count drum kick. I love this pillow kick. I use it all of the time. I went through the record and I found every time that kick played and I copied it right below. So I added in these kicks. I added in a snare, which was another sample from the boy, the legend. And then we have a filter that's going on. I also put in a drum fill here as well to turn around into that 41st bar. I keep doing this thing. I don't know. I just go do until I find the thing that sounds like that. It was a beautiful little drum fill that worked perfectly for me right there. Now, what I did to get these to work through, it might be like, Josiah, you're just going to stack all these kicks on top of each other? No, of course not. What we're going to do is we're going to get smart with our automating. Again, I'm just pressing A on my keyboard to turn on and off the automation. So what I automated on and off this whole time, this is the only time this happens on this record, is a Pro Q. So again, we have this EQ that comes in on this last hook. It turns on, and what it does is it cuts all of the low end. So this way I can double up. I can put the kick and the snare underneath it. Still hear a little of it sneak through. What I was doing, which probably was a little bit more time consuming, I was originally just chopping up all the different parts of those hi-hats that were in there, but there were some hits that were hitting when they hit the snare or they hit the kick. So for that to work properly, I just EQ'd it for that certain section. But again, remember, I wanted to preserve that drum fill at the end, so you can hear this turn off. Cool. So it turns off right in time for that original drum ending to come in. Shaker, synth bass, drum fills, 2 drum fills, lead, bass, Juno, everything's here, vocals are here, and this is just one demo take. I just had Sebastian record for 10-15 minutes, warm up a little bit, and here we are. No backgrounds, no additional processing except for the tracking template that Kenny Beats has. And here we are. We have a finished song. So I hope you guys learned something from this. This song is going to be out. We have a new record dropping October 14th called My Type, produced by your boy. Again, I'm super excited about it. I manage and produce for Sebastian, and it's a beautiful journey we're on. This one feels like it's going to be in the lineup for this year. Let us know if you think we should finish this. If you have any questions, if you learned something in regards to arrangement, production, how a little bit of a song can come to life out of nowhere. It's cool. It's cool when you, especially, I never thought I was going to be able to listen to my own music. I never thought I would make anything that I would want to be putting on in the car with my friends. And I can go on an hour-long drive just playing my music with my friends to new people, and I can be confident about it, and I can tell people about my stuff, and I don't know, it's hard to comprehend. I almost want to tear up. I might tear up after this or right now. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. I don't feel this way every day. I'm getting sober. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm just not drinking right now, and just hearing my own thoughts sometimes. I get hard on myself. I don't know where it's going all the time with this music stuff, but I believe in myself and I believe in my friends, and I'm thankful to have something to be able to share with you guys. So I hope you like it. If you have any questions, hit me up. I'm always here for you guys. I love you all, and I will see you soon. I'm going to drop this on SoundCloud. Go find it down below. I'll play it right now for a couple minutes, and I hope you guys enjoy it. This song will be out soon. Bye, guys.